In the heart of the Nigerian savannah, nestled between rolling hills and the meandering Niger River, lay the village of Ojidai. Its inhabitants lived in harmony with nature, their round mud huts adorned with intricate patterns painted in ochre, indigo, and white. Thatched roofs crowned each dwelling, and the scent of fresh palm wine mingled with the aroma of cooking fires. Lush greenery surrounded the village, where tall baobab trees stood as silent guardians, their branches stretching toward the azure sky. Amina was the jewel of Ojidai. With skin as dark and radiant as the rich soil after the rains, she moved with the grace of an antelope. Her eyes, deep and knowing, reflected the wisdom of generations. She adorned herself in vibrant Ankara fabrics, the patterns telling stories of her ancestors' geometric shapes and swirling lines symbolizing the journey of life. Beaded necklaces of red and yellow coral hung around her neck, and cowrie shells jingled softly from her intricately braided hair, woven with threads of gold. One morning, as the village awoke to the rhythm of drums signaling the start of the day, Amina set out to fetch water from the river. Balancing an earthen pot atop her head, she walked the familiar path lined with hibiscus and frangipani. Along the way, she hummed melodies taught to her by her grandmother, songs that spoke of love, harvest, and the spirits of the land. The sun cast a warm glow on the landscape, and the air was filled with the chatter of birds and the distant bleating of goats. As she approached the riverbank, she noticed a young man she had never seen before. He stood tall and strong, his dark skin glistening under the sun. He wore a tunic of indigo-dyed fabric, adorned with patterns resembling the waves of the ocean and the scales of the crocodile, a symbol of adaptability and strength. A leather satchel hung from his shoulder, and intricate tribal scars marked his cheeks, a symbol of bravery in his clan. He was intently carving a piece of ebony wood with a small knife, the shavings falling into the water and being carried away by the gentle current. "Greetings," Amina called out, her voice carrying over the gentle murmur of the river. The young man looked up, his eyes meeting hers. They were the color of rich mahogany, filled with warmth and curiosity. "Greetings," he replied, a smile revealing a row of white teeth. "I am Kofi, son of the chief of Ife." "I am Amina of Ojidai," she said, stepping closer. Her heart fluttered unexpectedly. "What brings you to our village?" "I travel to trade and learn," Kofi explained, gesturing to his satchel filled with handcrafted goods, bracelets woven with leather and bronze, masks carved from Iroko wood, and fabrics dyed with patterns known only to his people. "But I also seek knowledge and stories from distant lands." Amina felt a spark ignite within her, a curiosity, a connection. "Perhaps I can show you our village," she offered, her smile revealing a small gap between her front teeth, considered a sign of beauty in her culture. Over the next few days, Amina and Kofi spent their time together exploring the village and its surroundings. They wandered through the bustling markets where traders shouted their wares, yams stacked high, baskets of kola nuts, spices in earthen bowls, and textiles of every color imaginable. The air was thick with the scent of shea butter, smoked fish, and incense. Children played games with stones and sticks, their laughter echoing between the huts. They visited the blacksmith forge, where molten metal was hammered into hoes and cutlasses, the sparks dancing like fireflies. At the loom house, women wove colorful fabrics, their hands moving in practice rhythm as they worked the intricate designs of their heritage into each piece. Everywhere they went, the villagers greeted them warmly, though whispers began to circulate about the pair. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange, purple, and crimson, Kofi and Amina sat beneath a baobab tree. Fireflies began to emerge, flickering like stars brought down to earth. "Tell me," Kofi began, his voice gentle yet earnest, "do you believe our paths crossed by chance or by the will of the spirits?" Amina looked into his eyes, feeling the depth of his question resonate within her. "Perhaps it is both," she replied softly. "I feel as though I have known you all my life, though we have only just met." "As do I," Kofi agreed, taking her hand. His touch was warm, and his fingers careless from his craft. But there is something I must tell you. My father has arranged for me to marry the daughter of a neighboring chief to unite our clans. Amina's heart sank like a stone in water. And I am promised to Chidi, the warrior of our village, she confessed. It is our tradition. Our families have decided our fates since before we were born. They sat in silence, the weight of their words hanging heavy in the air. The cicadas began their nightly song, and the distant drums signaled festivities in the village. What are we to do? Amina whispered, her voice barely audible over the symphony of the night. Let us run away, Kofi suggested, his grip on her hand tightening. We can forge our own path, free from the chains of tradition. We can find a place where our love can thrive without constraints. Amina hesitated, torn between her desires and her duty. But what of our families? Our people? To abandon them would bring dishonor. Our actions could cause strife between our villages. Is love not worth any price? Kofi implored, his eyes pleading. Should we not be the masters of our own destinies? Tears welled in Amina's eyes. I must think, she said, pulling her hand away gently. This is not a decision to be made lightly. The next day, the village buzzed with preparations for the Ano Yam Festival, a celebration of harvest and gratitude. Colorful banners hung between huts, and everyone dressed in their finest attire. Amina wore a new wrapper of bright yellow and green, the colors symbolizing prosperity and life. Her arms were adorned with bangles that clinked musically as she moved, and her face was painted with delicate patterns in white clay. Drums beat in complex rhythms, and dancers moved with energy and precision, their anklets of bells adding to the music. The elders sat under a canopy, watching with pride as the community came together. Women carried baskets of yams, the king of crops, and men displayed their prowess in wrestling matches and archery contests. As the festivities reached their peak, Chidi approached Amina. Tall and muscular, he was known for his prowess in hunting and battle. His skin glistened with palm oil, and he wore a headdress of feathers from the African grey parrot, signifying wisdom and communication. He carried a spear decorated with intricate carvings and cowrie shells. Amina, he said with a nod, his voice deep and confident, soon we will be wed. Our families are pleased, and it will strengthen our village. She forced a smile, her heart heavy. Yes, Chidi. It is an honor, she replied, though her mind was elsewhere. Meanwhile, Kofi watched from the shadows, his heart aching. He knew that time was running out. That night, he sought out Amina once more, finding her by the river where they first met. The moon cast a silver glow on the water, and the croaking of frogs filled the air. Have you decided? He asked, his voice filled with hope and fear. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. I cannot betray my people, she said, her voice trembling. Our traditions are the threads that weave our community together. To break them would unravel everything. I cannot be the cause of discord between our villages. Kofi's face hardened, a mixture of disappointment and resignation. Then you choose tradition over love, he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. It is not that simple, Amina replied, reaching out to touch his face. I love you, but I also love my family and my village. I cannot be the cause of their sorrow. Perhaps in another life, we could be together. Very well, Kofi said, stepping back. Tomorrow, I leave for my village. May the spirits guide you, Amina. The next morning, as the mist rose from the fields and the first rays of sun pierced the sky, Kofi departed Ojidai. Amina watched from a distance, a solitary figure wrapped in a cloak of regret and longing. She clutched a small carving he had given her, a heart shaped from ebony wood, as tears rolled down her cheeks. Years passed, and Amina married Chidi. They had children and lived as was expected of them. She fulfilled her duties as a wife and mother, teaching her children the traditions of their people. Yet, a piece of her heart remained with Kofi, a silent ache that never faded, like a melody that lingered in the mind long after the song had ended. One season, a great drought struck the land. Crops withered under the relentless sun, and the river receded to a trickle. The cattle grew thin, and hunger loomed over the village. The elders consulted the oracle, a woman of great wisdom who communed with the spirits through sacred rituals. In the dim light of her hut, filled with the smoke of burning herbs and the whispers of ancient incantations, she declared that the spirits were displeased. The land suffers because the heart's desires were ignored, the oracle proclaimed, her eyes distant as if seeing beyond the physical world. The balance of life depends on the harmony between duty and love. Only when love and tradition walk hand in hand will balance be restored. Realizing the weight of her choices, Amina gathered the villagers under the shade of the great baobab tree. We have held onto our traditions tightly, but perhaps too tightly, she said, her voice clear and strong. We must learn to honor both our customs and the desires of our hearts. Let us teach our children that love is a part of our heritage, not separate from it. Moved by her words, the villagers began to reflect on their own lives. Parents listened to their children's hopes and dreams, and young couples were allowed to choose their own partners, while still respecting the customs that defined them. Marriages became unions of both love and tradition. Slowly, the rains returned. Dark clouds gathered, and the skies opened, drenching the parched land. The fields turned green once more, and the river swelled with life, fish leaping from its waters. The cattle grew fat, and the granaries filled. The villagers rejoiced, singing songs of gratitude to the spirits and to the wisdom that had restored their harmony. Amina found peace in knowing that future generations would not have to choose as she did. Though she carried the memory of Kofi in her heart, she was content that her children and their children would live in a world where love and tradition were not at odds. The moral lesson is, true harmony is achieved when love and tradition are balanced, honoring the past while embracing the desires of the heart. This tale teaches that while traditions are the foundation of a community, the hearts of individuals must also be heard to create a future that is both respectful and fulfilling.